Okay, guys, 7.5 honors, all right? So hopefully you've been keeping and paying attention to each one of these lectures because everything is building. And so this is going to be really hard if you don't understand some of the concepts here. So make sure you ask in class if you've fallen behind. So what we're going to do today is we're going to compare proportional relationships. Our main question here is, which I'm going to answer by doing these problems, is how can we compare proportional relationships represented in different ways? Okay, so this problem right here, what they're talking about is these guys are making paper mache birds, okay? And they want to find out the rates of each one. And we have to compare it to see which one is faster. All right, so with this one, we see we have a graph. Okay, and we have to be able to read that graph and give it the rule. If we can't do the rule, then we can't do a comparison. They say Marlow's rate is this. Again, we have a proportional relationship going up this way. Now, if you have a hard time, this should be a lot clearer. You can go in and look at it real close, okay, and see if you can see the different numbers. But also, this is example 1. So when you take down the notes, then you should be able to look at example 1 from the lecture, or well, from the examples that I posted, and that way you can compare, okay? So here's what we need to look at. Up here, y is birds. Time is x. Now remember, one of our most important things here that's going to help us is it is always y over x to figure out the unit rate. In other words, the constant of proportionality. I'm going to take one that's easy. I'm going to go like this, okay? X is 10, S is 2. So in other words, I'm using this right here on the chart to figure out that it should be, and this is for Marlow's, 2 over 10. In other words, our unit rate, because we're going to reduce that down, right? So in other words, I'm going to divide both of these by 2 over 2. This equals 1 over 5. Now remember, we're talking about, we want to set this up so we can see it. And so this is saying, if we look at the y as birds, and the x is minutes. In other words, birds per minute. So for Marlow here, if we say 1 over 5, even though we don't have a 1 on the bottom, we can still read this really well. He's doing 1 bird every 5 minutes. Not too fast, right? It takes him 5 minutes to make 1 bird. That's how I figured that out. Now the cool thing is about Josh's is they give us a rule. Now you should know that this right here is always going to be the unit rate in the rule. In other words, this is 2, we have to make it into a fraction, it would be 2.5 over 1. Okay, so if we have 2.5 over 1, and we look back over what that means, he's making 2.5 birds per minute. So he is way faster. And so Josh's rate is way faster. This is the guy you'd want to hire if you were going to have somebody make these birds for you, okay? So that's the whole point, guys. We got to go y over x. We got to figure out which one means y, which one means x. We can do that based off of this. We know that this is the unit rate and the constant of proportionality within the rule. And the slope. Don't forget it's the slope, too, if we're going to go through and graph this. So this is 2.5 or 2.5 over 1. Okay? So yeah, Josh's rate, way faster. So what we have to do is to be able to find a commonality. We need to find that unit rate, and then we can compare those unit rates. Now you're going to see this even more in example 3. Okay? So here's what we're looking at. I'm going to bring this over here. Okay, now, example 3 here is talking about how fast vehicles are going. Okay, we've got a vehicle in Japan that is going at this rate. You can see it's proportional. It's at the origin. It starts at the origin. In other words, if the car's not moving, then it's not going to go any kilometers, and it's going consistently up in a straight line. With the US, they tell us that, hey, we've got this car and we're going at 600 kilometers in 2.5 hours. Okay? Now we're going to use the same strategy here, guys. Okay? So watch carefully. We're going to go y over x. Now they showed us this right here. Y is kilometers over, and then x is hours. So in other words, kilometers per hour, right? We need to figure out what the kilometers per hour is on each one of these. Okay, so for this one, I go through and I look at this, and the one that they really emphasized was 1,000 in 3 hours. So first I'm going to find out Japan's. Okay, so I'm going to go through, this is Japan, and we're saying 1,000 kilometers in 3 hours. Now I need to reduce that down. In order to reduce that down, every fraction is what? A division problem. So we go through and divide it. And this is going to be an approximation. Okay, and that's okay because we just want to know which car is faster. So the approximation in here when we divide this is it ends up being 333 kilometers per hour. Okay, so there's Japan. That's what we're comparing it to, okay? All right, pretty fast, right? Yeah, pretty fast. Now we do the US. Okay? Now the US, we're going to do the same thing. Remember, it's kilometers per hour. So that means 600 over 2.5. Okay? Every fraction, again, is a division problem. So we're going to go through and do that. The easiest way to do this, and this is where you go through and you evaluate the problem. When I'm looking at this, if I'm going to punch it into a calculator, I'm going to turn the 2.5 into 2.5. Then I can simply do that in my calculator, okay? And we actually get a whole number on this, which is 240 kilometers per hour. So, getting it to the unit rate, getting the constant of proportionality, finding the slope if we're going to graph it, this is what we did right here, okay guys? And so what you're looking at here is the Japan vehicle way faster than the US vehicle. You know, almost 100 kilometers per hour faster. So that's what we're looking at with these. Usually I do an XL, guys, but there's only 5 XLs on this one. So I want you guys to make sure that you go through, do those 5, ask questions in class if you don't understand. Make sure that you are keeping up, okay guys? It makes it a lot easier for me to be able to answer questions when you guys are all on the same page. So make sure you're following the schedule that's on the modules to make sure that you understand. All right guys, we'll talk to you soon.